Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA show for the week. My name is George Coles and let's go right into the show. First up we have the Aces and Eights coming out. Talk about they're going to have a new member, warning Chris Sabin not to challenge Bully Ray because it's a bad idea. Then we have they said they're going to have a new VP, I'm sorry. Then we have the Main Event Mafia coming out to counterbalance and say that they're going to introduce their fifth and final manager by the end of the show. Okay, opener, faction warfare again. TNA loves its factions. Really all of wrestling loves its factions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. This, I'm kind of on the fence on. Now, the theme for the night is a Joker's Wild, which is kind of like the Lethal Lottery Battle Bowl that used to be done in WCW, where random people would be picked to be tag team partners, and the winners of the tag teams get into a gauntlet match later, where the winner of the gauntlet match picks up 25 points for the Bound for Glory series. First match we have is Jeff Hardy and Joseph Park, guys that fought each other last week, versus Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, guys that wrestled a couple weeks back. Joe and AJ pick up the win. It was not such a great opening match, okay at best in my opinion. But it is what it is when you have pretty much random thrown together teams. The next we have Jay Bradley and Hernandez versus Mr. Anderson and Magnus, which are two members representing the Main Event Mafia and Aces and Eights. And Anderson didn't really work with Magnus. Magnus ends up picking up the win anyway, in spite of him, for the team. It was okay. Much better than the first match. Not great by any stretch of the imagination, though. Then our third match was the best of the three. We had Christopher Daniels, who came out first and was dancing, thinking that he would automatically get Kaz. Obviously not. We know how this goes. He gets Austin Aries as a partner, and they wrestle with Bobby Roode and Kazarian as tag team partner. Kazarian and Roode pick up the win. And the best of the three matches of the night of the tag team Joker's Wild, in my opinion. Then again, I mean, look at the guys you got in it. No knock on any of the other guys. There's some really good talent all across the board, but you know, you got four of the elite in TNA wrestling in this one match. Speaking of TNA elite, we're going to go right into our question of the week from last week. Now, last week, if you remember, TNA had released several wrestlers: Sam Shaw, Taylor Hendricks, Joey Ryan, Crimson, and then after Matt Morgan. Now, the question was, who do you think was the biggest mistake they released? We got an answer from one of our friends, the chosen one-ification. He said Joey Ryan or Christian York. You know, I've been torn on this. I think Crimson has the most upside, but Joey Ryan is a guy that was horribly underused. I mean, he comes in with a gimmick already. He's a veteran who knows a lot about booking. He knows a lot about getting other guys over. His own promotion, which he helped start, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, is one of the most entertaining in America. And another thing that helped me sway a little bit is he was on my friend and Naz Tweeter's Internet Wrestling Express show. Go check him out. Search it up, Internet Wrestling Express, iwxshow.com. And he was a really down-to-earth guy, and it really made me upset that they released him with everything he said. He knew it was coming, you know, all that. He didn't badmouth the company at all, and got me to go on the side of Joey Ryan. I think Crimson has the most upside out of all of them. Matt Morgan I'm not going to add because he came in days later, but I think Joey Ryan's the biggest loss for them. They could have done so much more with him, whether it be managing, wrestling himself. I mean, they barely scratched the surface with the guy. Now, the question of the week for this week is, what do you guys think of this Joker's Wild Battle Bowl type thing? Do you guys like the random teaming? Do you think it's all hokey? I think it should be more random, or I'll get into that next week. But let us know what you think on the whole Joker's Wild concept. And that's our question of the week for this week. Let us know on our Facebook, our Twitter. Put it down where? Down there. Now, coming off of that, we had Hulk Hogan and Brooke Hogan talking about Bully Ray. Same old shit. Aces and Eights vote on their VP. The vote comes down to Nux deciding between Anderson and Doc. He picks Anderson. So Anderson is now the VP of Aces and Eights. After that, we had the match of the night, and I'm going to call it one of the match of the year candidates right now. Gail Kim versus Taryn Terrell was fabulous. And I'm not just talking for a knockout. It was a ladder match for a contract for the #1 contendership. Not just knockouts, all of wrestling. This was a fabulous ladder match. Great ring psychology, great levels of brutality. Their feud is amazing. I mean, you got two beautiful women, which don't discount that at all. That's a big selling factor. That are absolutely athletic, that every time they go into the ring with each other, they top the last time they were in. And if you guys remember the Falls Count Anywhere match, that was a fucking amazing match. And this one blew it away. I would put this in the short list, maybe the top 2 or 3 matches all year so far in any organization. This was amazing. Gail Kim versus Taryn Terrell. Gail wins by tying Taryn's hair to the rope. Who would ever have thought of that? I mean, just the stuff they come up with. I'm really hoping that even if Gail wins the title or whatever happens, that we get a third blow-off match and put the two of them in a cage. I'd love to see what the two of these girls could come up with in a cage. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. What a match. What a story they're telling. What a feud. And Taryn Terrell, you came in from the modeling world. You started off on a bad note, but you became one of my favorite female wrestlers. I mean, your ability and talent is absolutely amazing. Gail Kim, one of the greatest women that's ever stepped in the ring, bar none. And this was amazing. Kudos to TNA for giving them the time and the format to do this, because a lot of wrestling looks down on women's wrestling, and this, when it's done right, it could be this. And that's all I gotta say. Amazing, amazing match. If you guys haven't seen it, Google it, look it up on YouTube. I don't know if it's on there or not. Find it however you can find it, because you will not be disappointed. Our next match of the night is the Gauntlet match. And we'll go with the order of entry was AJ Styles, Magnus, Kazarian, Samoa Joe, Mr. Anderson, Bobby Roode, with the winner of the match being Magnus. Now, if you guys remember a couple weeks back when we first started talking about the Bound for Glory series, I thought that Magnus would be the guy and he's seeming to run away with it. I think he has a 24-point lead on everybody else with this win. I mean, they're making a star out of this guy. Him being in the Main Event Mafia, in the big storyline of the company, being the guy that's demonstrating the most in the Bound for Glory, getting the most wins, picking up the most points. I think he's going to be the eventual winner. Now, they might swerve us and someone come up from, that's relatively close and overtake him the last couple weeks. But I don't know. I've seen Magnus going wire to wire as the winner of Bound for Glory. The guy's got amazing talent, and it's nothing but upside with the kid. Last but not least, we get a segment to end the show. We got Hulk Hogan asking Chris Sabin what he's going to do, if he's going to cash in the X title for a chance at the world title, which brings out Bully Ray, who wants to know. Bully Ray runs him down. Sabin says yes. The Aces and Eights start coming through the crowd. The Main Event Mafia comes up to the stage, basically says it's going to be a one-on-one match next week, and we got a heavy hitter. We go off the air with Quentin Rampage Jackson as the newest member of the Main Event Mafia. Not sure how I feel about that. I mean, he is a main eventer. He main evented plenty of UFC pay-per-views and Pride pay-per-views, and I'm sure he's going to be a main eventer in Bellator, but he's not a wrestling main eventer. I mean, I guess it's okay. hide his deficiencies, put him with the guys like Magnus, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and Sting. I guess that works a little bit. I don't know. I don't know why they would force him into this. I don't even know if he's going to wrestle at all. But those are questions to be followed up. It does leave that door open, the intriguing questions. What's going to come of this? Could we see it in a Rampage Jackson versus Mr. A? Somebody like a Mr. Anderson or a Nux or a Doc. You know, Devon, somebody in the Aces and Eights on the feud. Will we see him in a tag match or a three-way? Or, you know, it leaves... I think the best place to put him would be if they did a faction versus faction elimination style match. That way he doesn't have to necessarily wrestle too much. But he does have an amateur wrestling background, and reportedly he is a great wrestling fan from when he was a child. So hopefully he's a good addition. Right now I'm 50-50 on it, to be honest with you, and I'm a Rampage Jackson fan. Now, before we go into our rating for the night, we have something we do every week exclusively for the TNA show, and that's our Thunderlips Hulk Hogan Count of the Week. This week we had 2 appearances by the Bald Behemoth. Right about where I'd like it to be. I don't mind 1 or 2 Hogan appearances. He's Hogan, I mean. It's the shows that he has 5, 6. He's on every segment, every backstage segment, every recap that you see Hogan. Those are the ones I mind. When he's out there once or twice, I don't mind so much. But, you know, 2's a good, decent number. Now, speaking of numbers, we're going to go into our ratings for the week. Now, if you've seen the show, you know we rate our show from 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. A 1's a Jesse Goddard's, 2's a Garrett Bischoff, 3's a James Storm, 4's Christopher Daniels, 5's a Kurt Angle. I'm going to go with a 4 Christopher Daniels for one reason. Well, actually 2. The Gauntlet match was really good. The Gail Kim and Tara Terrell match blew everything on the show and everything that TNA's done to this year away. That match is must-see in my opinion for wrestling fans. There were a couple matches. This could have been a 5 if the Hardy and Park versus Joe and AJ match was better. You know, if a couple matches that brought it down to a 4 instead of a 5. But overall, a very good and very entertaining show. I like what they did. Like I said, Gail Kim versus Tara Terrell. If you go away with anything watching this video, find that match, watch that match. You'll be very happy. But basically, that's all I have to say about TNA this week. My name is George Coles, and this has been Heel Heat.